sure everything's going right before I look away from this here. Welcome out there to our YouTube audience. I'm taking over for Emily Gulmer today, so I'm trying to make sure we get out to the other live stream areas. You are watching your World of Ability live stream show. I'm Kurt Roskoff, producer, creator, operator, and chief cook and bottle washer here at World of Ability. So I'll be right with you. I'm working on Facebook and LinkedIn to connect as we are here on YouTube. And also going to be kicking in Instagram for all those Instagram followers. So please go ahead and share it out to your connections, your Facebook friends, your LinkedIn connections, and all your social media outlets. We're going to have quite an opportunity here. We're really going to put the world in World of Ability today. So here we go. I'm just clicking on my start button for Facebook and LinkedIn. Again, this show was launched July 2020, the inaugural show, where I was right here doing the same thing and saying, hey, I want to go out there and do disability advocacy. And then in August 2020, I met the Happy Neighborhood Project. Through the Happy Neighborhood Project, I have in the last 4 years connected to 4,000 direct connections, just like with our guest here today. And so it gives me a lot of optimism what we can all do together to co-create our future. So right now I'm in my StreamYard right now using this interface for Instagram. So we're going to get this conversation going out just a little bit further. We're about reach, folks, and we want to give great thanks to our media partner, the Disability Channel, showcasing abilities, television by and with people with disabilities and veterans. So here we go. So yes, folks, 4 years of programming in the making, and there are a lot of ideas. We have events coming up that are going to help us take a quantum leap in the next 4 months ahead. It is going to be absolutely amazing.
Yeah, Kurt just told me that he's going to be going swimming in the Lake Michigan on New Year's Day.
Yeah, in my
That's what he
speech.
said yesterday, right? You're going to be swimming in New Year's, no wetsuit, just the polar launch. Woo!
That's it, my Speedo and everything, right?
I'm leave the Speedo out of the deal.
There we go. We don't mind getting a little edgy here at the World of Ability.
Yeah.
Diving deep into what we do as people, how we do it, where we do it. And like I said, we're going to be taking the time ahead of us right now in this show to consider that. Boy, oh boy, StreamYard and Instagram is really giving me my struggles here, but let's keep the show going here. So again, a little bit of what I'm bringing in here is inspired by, I had the opportunity to become, a handful of years ago, I was the vice chair of the Wisconsin Council on Physical Disabilities. So that was a great honor to be appointed by our governor at the time, Scott Walker, and to serve with that excellent group. And then to learn the structures of all that, where the governor's office gets a governor's committee for people with disabilities, where you have liaisons from the mental health services, from the deaf and hard of hearing community, from the blind and visually impaired services, you know, so you have mental health, our physical disabilities council, deaf and hard of hearing, blind and visually impaired, and I'm missing one. But the big one, intellectual and developmental disabilities, the board for people with developmental disabilities. And so all working together to help create that, perfect advisement and insights for the work of the governor. And then everybody else plugging administratively and then making all of that also available to the work of our legislators. So quite a bureaucratic experience and very remarkable. And other places that I went into agency work, it brings out what we call collective impact. And it just became something born out of private public partnerships. So you have government as your public entity. And then when you're out there with the business communities or even a hospital, so on and so forth, you're kind of creating those partnerships from the public sector and the private sector, bringing it together to handle issues of the marketplace that people are stakeholders in, and then to do it all together. Because when you're in health and human services and you're in public services, public health, and disability services and the like, these committees formed by counties and states and whatever, and federally, we're always looking at unmet needs. So that's the practice there that I was able to be a leader in. And so now I'm out here helping people think of their faith space, what they do in faith practices, and how it includes or not as much people with disabilities. And also put with it again my work with veterans. I learned through the veteran community there's something called church hurt. People in churches actually having issue on participation by our U.S. vets, at their church. So a lot of things surprise
Can
me
you explain
culturally.
that?
What's that?
Can you explain that? I know you're filling up the gap while you get everything else going on there, but can you explain that church hurt just a little bit more?
Yeah, so when we think of our veteran community, obviously there's characteristics of some veterans where, you know, there might be a little bit of crassness. Like when you come into a space, like veterans learn through their, military journeys, um, you know, they learn like don't go into a space that you don't have an exit strategy. Because when you're in combat, you always have to you have to plan and have strategies that you don't become a casualty or a prisoner of war because you got trapped. So that this happens even in their civilian life, where if they go into a church and so forth, um, some people, if they're not familiar with that, it could seem a little peculiar, and it could strike somebody. They could take it as odd, and then they start to examine that veteran and start to feel like something's going on there that they start to feel uncomfortable with. So then, and then who knows what else is happening, but it's definitely attributes to veterans that other veterans in the veteran community can relate to. And then people that don't understand military life and then transitioning into civilian life after military service, and then all of the mental health and just what it does to your character and how you behave. There's these things that go on that it's been reported that I mean it's a lot of people, Ralph, and everybody out there that,
I'm a prior service U.S. Marine, and I never thought about it, but I do notice it everywhere I go. I look for the emergency exit.
yeah.
I do that automatically, without even thinking about it. But but I've never met anybody that didn't want to come to church because it wasn't an emergency exit.
Yeah, well, it's not that the veteran doesn't want to come to church. It's like with churches, you have your committees and your councils and, your ministries, and then people talk to the leadership and the pastors and so forth. And so the reports are is that people will approach these pastors and say, you know, whoever they are, that veteran, they'll call them out in a separate talking behind their back, you know, going to a clergy or pastor and say, you know, it's really not good that that person is in our congregation. You know, we really should look at finding somewhere else that that person can go pray and, you know, do what they want to do. And, you know, and even if it doesn't get to the request of asking them to leave, there still is that kibitzing and, you know, the stuff in sacred scripture where they tell you not to do, you know, in terms of backstabbing and murmuring
Yeah.
and gossiping and all that. They actually do that over the veterans, and then the veterans catch wind of it and it hurts them. And that's what's called church hurt.
Okay, I've not run into any of that ever, but that's okay. I'm sure it exists. I've just, I go to church, and every church I've been at, people have always been really friendly to everybody that's a veteran. But I've not been to every church in the country. I've only been to a handful of churches, But I do that everywhere I go. I look for the emergency exit. If something goes wrong here, how am I going to get out of here? What's the next step? And so I guess I didn't even think about it. I just do it all the time. When I get on an airplane, the first thing I look at is where the exits are. I know that the girl gets up and plays this, they get up and give this speech about safety, but I look for the exit long before they do that. And I always love in the middle of the speech the lie every single one of them tell. They say, if we have an emergency here, your oxygen mask will drop from the ceiling. Okay, that's true. They say, put it on first, which that's true. You should do before you try to help anybody else. Help yourself first, because you won't have if you run out of oxygen, you can't help them. Then the next sentence, they all say it. If your bag does not inflate, don't worry, you're still getting your oxygen. Bull crap. If it don't inflate, you're not getting any oxygen. But it's better, they say that because they would better for you to pass out in a seat than panic and cause a big panic across the airplane. And I know that's for better, but they all tell the same lie. And I just think it's kind of funny. But I mean, not much you can do. If you're, 30,000 feet in the sky, the aircraft needs to stay at about 10,000 feet altitude wise, the atmosphere in that aircraft. Okay. And once you get above 14, 16,000 feet, it's difficult to get enough air in there to breathe. So at 30,000 feet, the pilot should take it down to less than 14,000 feet almost immediately, anyhow. And it's better for you to sit there in your seat, okay, and rather than run up and down the hallway screaming and yelling, I've got no air. Well, there's nothing they can do for you at that point anyhow. But I always think it's funny that they all tell that same lie. If your bag isn't inflating, don't worry, you're getting oxygen. Well, Loney, you're not getting any oxygen, okay? It's, or not enough anyhow. Otherwise, you just simple. If you put pressure in there, that bag is going to inflate. That's the way it works. But anyways, so much for that. Nobody cares about my 2 cents, and it makes sense anyhow.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and it actually gives me an interesting segue to bring in, into our live streaming here, that you can share what you think would be good for a public audience here on what you and I talked to over the phone, because we got into some safety issues with what we're talking about with, boat racing and racing around the world in boats and creating, these events, these racing events that you are giving me all this insight to. I maybe heard a little bit of it, but that conversation I had with you, Ralph, on boat racing, was really the eye opener for me. I did see the movie about the one Australian, I think her last name was Livingston. I remember that because I actually have ancestors by the name of Livingston. But she went from Australia and toured around the world and had that near-death experience that a movie, was foretold about. But that wasn't a race. That was just back in the day.
Record. Yeah. And you're talking about the 16-year-old girl that sailed by herself, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
I'll
just call it Miss Livingston.
She didn't get the record because she didn't cross the Antipoli. Okay. And Antipoli is a fancy word for antipole. Okay, which means you got to start in one spot and hold that thought 1 second. Don't go anywhere. Don't pass go. Don't collect dollars.
All right, take your time. So here we go, folks. We're going to open up a whole new world for me, and it may be for you. And, we even talked about the realities of being careful about, my appetite for inviting people with disabilities, but I was talking about audience participation possibly with these events. But let's go into this. The Antipoli.
This is everybody's seen one of these things, the globe. All right,
Yeah.
but if you're going for the record of the fastest vessel to go around the world, which I am going after, okay, I'm going after that. I already hold 4 world records in boating, okay, in extreme boating, and I'm going after the world speed record. So if you sail from Australia, okay, down under, way over here, okay, you have to go around the world legally, you have to cross the Antipoli, which is the Antipole, okay, or Antipoli. You've got to cross a segment that's 100, I don't know if you can see this on that picture there, but 180 degrees opposite of where you're at. Okay, if you do not cross that, you did not set the record for wherever you go. So she sailed for the youngest person to ever sail around the world solo. But she didn't, what she did was she stayed down here near the bottom of the ocean. She has to go up to the Antipoli. All right. Well, she did it. Well, she did 16 years old. She did a fantastic thing by herself. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Unbelievably fantastic. Okay. But anyways, you have to cross the Antipoli. All right. Or if you're doing a power boat, you've got to go through both canals, which is the Panama Canal, which is right there. Trying to get this globe into the picture. Okay.
Yeah, we got it. Yep.
Okay. And then you got to come around over to the other side and go through the Suez Canal, which is over here. Okay. And so if you're doing the powerboat record, which we're going after. Anyways, now you can see everybody, see me better. Okay, is that better there? But, by the way, those are world records sitting behind my shoulder in case you didn't know what they were. I have 4. I only have 3 hanging up here. These documents cost a lot of money. Anyways, it's a long story, but 3's good enough as far as I'm concerned. But there is 4, actually. But anyway, so we're going out of San Diego, right there, southern tip of California. And we're going to go all the way around the world. Okay. Basically, now, right now, the plan takes us up the Red Sea, which is here. Okay. Trying to look at this in a mirror. Okay. I'm not good at that. But up the Red Sea through the Suez Canal. But right now, Yemen is a hot spot. And so Yemen, basically, they've had some serious problems with drones and stuff coming out of Yemen, and they're picking fights with people. If that's still going on about a year from now, we are not going through Yemen. We'll go around a different way. And then you've got Israel up here, which is also a hot spot. And we're hoping that that's not a hot spot at the time either. Let me back up. We're going to do it during the world record. We will do this, but when we create the race afterwards, we're creating a race around the world as well. But after we do the race around the world, we're going to avoid this whole area if there's still hot spots, because it's kind of stupid to drive into the middle of a war on purpose. There is some things. I've not been known for being really smart. I crossed the ocean in the smallest powerboat that's ever crossed the ocean in the history of the world, and my wife proves that she married an idiot. Okay. Anybody who would go out in the ocean in a little tiny boat, not just go out in it, but just cross it. Okay. That guy, he's missing a few marbles, but I don't care. I enjoy life. If I kick the bucket somewhere along the line, I don't mind, because I'm going to kick the bucket anyhow. There's no way I'm getting around it. Okay. Everybody's given on the man once to die and then the judgment. We all stand before God, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You can try all you want about avoiding it. And there's a couple of people that have lived to like 115, but not many. Most of us kick the bucket, somewhere, if men, somewhere around 72, 73, and women, somewhere around 78. So that's just the way it works. And there ain't much you can do about it. So my opinion is, if I kick the bucket going after something that's really cool, more power to it. Okay. It's kind of like jumping out of an airplane. I don't know if you've ever done that before, but I've done it a few times. And I'm telling you, that's if you have to die and you got to die, that's not a bad way to go. Banzai! I'm teasing, but I'm not teasing. I really am serious. My brother Dana was surfing in California, and we grew up in Cocoa Beach. So Cocoa Beach has a wooden pier. Okay, Westgate bought it, so I don't know what the new name is. It used to be called Cocoa Beach Pier, but Westgate bought it. I think it's Westgate Pier. I think is what they call it now in Cocoa Beach, Florida, right next to Cape Kennedy. But it's wooden, and shooting a pier is fun. Okay, it's kind of stupid, but fun. Okay, if you hit the wooden pier, you're going to get cut, but you're going to be okay. All right, you might get bruised. You're going to be okay. My brother Dana decides to go out to California, and he's surfing. He decides to shoot the Huntington Pier, Huntington Beach Pier. Well, guess what? Huntington Beach Pier is cement. If you hit your head on cement, it's more, it killed him. Okay, killed him almost instantly. And so, but at first I was really upset, that he died so young. But I got thinking about it, man, all the things to do, all the ways to die. Okay, surfing's got to be one of the best ones. Okay, I mean, it just is. And they were able to use from his body parts, they were able to save 3 lives. And so that's really cool too. Okay. Again, I'm not a suicidal type person. I am not. Please, I just go through life not worrying about it. Okay, at all. Again, I'm not suicidal. Anybody who's listening to this that thinks I'm suicidal, they're nuts. I am not in any way, shape, or form. I'm just go through life and have fun. If God calls my number, he calls my number, wherever it is, whenever it is, and there's no way to get around it. But anyways, I'm kind of yapping at this point. What else did you want? But you were talking about the 16-year-old girl by herself. Yeah. I thought that was phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. And so I'll shove my globe over here. All right.
All right. Well, one thing to help give context to what we're talking about today, you talked about, we're hearing you have experience with surfing and skydiving, so you're a little bit of an adrenaline junkie in your own right, which is cool stuff. And then, but there's probably more insight to things that you and your family did growing up and things you did. Oh, by the way, did you catch any chocolate fish?
Chocolate fish.
Yeah, you were at Cocoa Beach. I always heard you can catch chocolate fish at Cocoa Beach.
You got me on that.
Yeah, that's actually a joke. We had in our local water ski team here in Milwaukee a gentleman who skied for Tommy Bartlett Thrill Show out of Wisconsin Dells, and he actually, had a time where he played the role of Aqua the Clown, and so he'd always be clowning around and telling jokes, and that'd be one of his trade jokes is, "Hey, where do you catch chocolate fish?" And he really had people wanting to like you were talking, like you were going chocolate fish, and then it's like Cocoa Beach.
That's the first I've ever heard of that. Okay.
There you go.
Anyways, but no, that is definitely the first I've ever heard of that. But yeah, Cocoa Beach is a good place to grow up. Great place to grow up.
So what are some of the other adventurous stuff? I mean, because you ended up going into military and so forth. So you seem to have kind of a traditional testosterone driven, male life and, just, going balls to the wall and just going to it. I mean, there must have been things that, like, did you grow up with guns and, shooting guns and stuff like that as a kid, hunting and?
Not really.
Oh yeah.
Not really. My dad had a rifle, and I think my whole time growing up, I only saw him take it out and clean it once. Okay. Well, we were not really into guns, but we were into boats.
Boats, yeah.
Well, my earliest memory in life is in California. I was 4 years old, and we lived in a place called Playa del Rey, which is the beachfront property near Santa Monica. Okay, we were not near the beach. We were on the beach. I mean, our house was beach front. You go out the back door, you're on the beach. You don't have to walk to the beach, you're on it. And so my earliest memory in life is I was 4 years old. My mom's waking me up and to see if I'm going to go catch grunions with the rest of the family. Now, truth to bear, I'm 4 years old. I went to bed with my rubber boots on, ready to get up. I mean, I knew we were getting up in the middle of the night to go up and down the beach and catch grunions. So I had a little tiny bucket and, just a little bucket. And I'm 4 years old and we'd gather them all up and throw them in the bucket. And my dad's laughing at me because as fast as we would throw them in the bucket, I was running up and down to the next location. Okay. And they were all gone by the time we got there. My bucket, I'm going like this, and my bucket's just flying. But the grunions are fish. They're about the size of a cigar. Okay. And they come up on the beach and they dig a hole in the ground and they lay their eggs. And then they go back out to sea to die. Well, we decided if they're going to go back out to sea to die, we're going to save them the trouble. We're going to put them in a stew pot. Okay. And make stew out of them. So they don't have to go out to sea to die. But they come up at the highest tide and they lay their eggs. And then a month later, they come back, or they don't come back. A month later, when the tide comes up to the highest point it's going to come, the eggs hatch and they swim back out to sea. And so there's little grunions, and that's my earliest memory in life. But we moved from there to Satellite Beach, which is right near Cape Kennedy, right near Cocoa Beach. For those of you that don't know it as Canaveral Air Station, where they launched the missiles at. But for us, it was Cape Kennedy. It was really originally Cape Canaveral, but they changed the name of the Cape or the missiles, the air station where you would launch missiles from, to Cape Kennedy. And then I guess a couple of years later decided that he wasn't the perfect man that everybody thought he was. And they changed it from Cape Kennedy back to Cape Canaveral. Well, let's just face it, nobody's perfect. Nobody on the planet is perfect. And if you think your friend is perfect, or you think your political candidate is perfect, I got news for you. They're not. Okay? Some of them I can't stand, some of them I like, but it doesn't matter who they are. They're not perfect. None of us are. But anyways, from there, we moved to Turks and Caicos. Okay? Grand Turk. Now, my dad was the liaison officer, part of the liaison officer with what they call the Eastern Test Range. And that's the thing associated with the Air Force and NASA, which is right next to each other. And so they had a landing strip in Grand Turk, Turks and Caicos, but it was a Navy landing strip, not an Air Force landing strip. And every once in a while, the Air Force would land an aircraft down there. And if they needed maintenance on it or whatever, getting the Navy to actually do the maintenance was like, forget it. They're not going to do it. So they decided they would put a permanent guy down there that would be able to, make friends with the Navy and maybe get them to pull a wrench out and put it on the aircraft when it needs one down in Grand Turk. And so my dad got that job. Now, his job basically was to go scuba diving because that skin diving. And so our front yard is the Caribbean Ocean. I mean, literally, you walk out my front door, you walk 20 feet, 30 feet, and you're swimming. I mean, literally, it's just that it. And we were little kids. We could all swim like fish. And it was just great. I can't imagine parents, letting their kids do what we did. My mom would let us out the door, and be gone. We're 5, 6 years old. We're out in the ocean by ourselves. Okay. My brother Chris and I was 5 at the time and he was 8 at the time. We swam about a quarter mile out to sea, climbed up anchor chains and stole stuff off yachts. Not necessarily good behavior, but at 5 years old, letting my kids swim a quarter mile out to sea. My wife, there's not a chance she would let that, not a chance. But, no way. But, we did, was climb up the anchor chains, and because my parents weren't watching us at the beach, they were doing whatever they were doing. There was no running water on the island. There was no electricity on the island. Okay, there was no telephones. There were no TVs. We didn't know you could watch TV and watch other people. We could go out and do our own stuff, And then I moved from there back to Cocoa Beach. So I'm unbelievable. I'm so grateful that I had a chance to grow up on the water, in the water, all around the water, surfing, fishing, camping, chasing girls, all those kind of things that are important. But, it's just a totally different, in my opinion, different way to grow up than most kids today. And I mean, we had a A1A, which is the alternative US 1A, whatever it stands for. But it's a highway that runs right up and down the coast. I mean, right next to the beach in Florida. So it runs from Cape Kennedy down into Cocoa Beach, and it runs a lot of other areas too. But all that work traffic, like at 5 o'clock from Cape Kennedy, everybody that worked at Cape Kennedy, there's a lot of people. They're coming down that highway, and that highway is just jam packed with its 5 lanes across. This is right up down the beach. When I turned 10, I was allowed to cross it by myself. There's no way my wife would have let our 10-year-old kids cross a 2-lane highway, much less a 5-lane highway. And we had this surfboard, a 9'4" Greg Knoll. And the deal was you carried it on your head. Now I'm 5'6.5", almost 5'7", but I'm short. I used to always tell people the reason I'm short is I carried this 9'4" surfboard on my head down to the beach. And we went barefoot. You can't, I'm an adult now. I'm in Florida. In the summer in Florida, the roads are so stinking hot. Okay, I can't walk 5 feet on it. But we ran all around barefoot as kids. And you're running down the road with a surfboard, or you're running across the major interstate, a major road with a surfboard on your head. But that's just a different life than what our kids grow up today. And our kids are coddled, and they're not given responsibility, not given opportunity. And it's just, we're going to watch you every 5 seconds of your life. Why? Okay, kids need to grow up, and they need to make mistakes, and they need to learn. And anyways, we're getting off the subject here, but I could talk for hours. You better stop me, because I'll just keep on going.
Okay. All right, we'll take the opportunity to take a check-in with Barbara Weinstein, another Floridian. So someone who appreciates the ocean life and other, waterway living. Barbara, are you able to unmute? You're muted right now, Barbara. You can say hello to our newfound friend Ralph out of Florida too. I don't know, Barbara might be in the middle of something here. Let's see here. Yeah, it seems like she's not unmuting here, so we'll have to check back with her later on. Barbara, when you're ready, go ahead and unmute and join the conversation. Oh, there she is. Sound check, Barbara. We're not hearing you. You're unmuted, but we don't hear you. So I don't know if you have your phone mic muted.
Can you hear me now?
There we go. There's our public speaker.
Yay.
So are you hearing Ralph at all, or are you deep into something else?
No, I'm in an airport in Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh.
And yeah, and they're putting me on the plane right now. So I guess we'll have to talk later. I'm gonna go celebrate a 3-year-old birthday party. It's gonna be wild.
All right, we're on here for the next 90 minutes. So if 90 minutes from now, if you're off the plane, come on over.
All right.
Barbara, where are you flying to?
I'm flying to Nashville.
You're in Atlanta going to Nashville? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Have a safe flight.
Are you going to sing for us?
Sing for you?
Yeah.
Yeah, 90 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
We're telling the crew 90 minutes. You're going to come back and sing.
I promise.
All right. Sounds good, Barbara. Thank you. Have a good flight.
Thank you.
You
Bye,
bet.
guys.
Bye. So yeah, Barbara is someone who's been with us all along the 4-year trail. I actually met Barbara about 7 years ago through someone that I worked with in mutual aid, a mutual aid network. And now it's evolved to be a global community called Humans United Mutual Aid Networks. And but Barbara hopped right on when we were starting this World of Ability show. And so she's been coming in here. I call her our color commentator because she lives a pretty free-spirited, free-living life and having pictures by the ocean all the time. And so when you're talking about being close to swimming, yeah, she spent a lot of time swimming and a lot of time on the beach in her life. And so
I saw the 754 number, which is South Florida, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
So she's from Florida. So yeah, she is grandchildren in Georgia, and then they're all taking a trip to Nashville, and so yeah, she's got a lot of fun ahead of her. So it's pretty great that she checked in, even though she was due to check in on the plane. So that's kind of how we roll here, and that's why I like this open house format, because if we get too strict, stuff like that wouldn't happen.
well, there you go.
Yeah. Well, tell us more. Feed into my curiosity a little bit more about your life experiences. I'm guessing you've have driven motorcycles in your life.
Yes, I have. I've owned about 5 of them. Okay. So I haven't had one for years, but yes, I've owned about 5 of them over my
Okay.
lifespan. And so if I had one now, my wife would shoot me. So we've had that discussion a few times about getting a motorcycle, and she's always adamantly against it. She calls them donor cycles. Like, I understand. But
Yeah, yeah, I did a little bit of motorcycle driving, and I actually with the motorcycle I had, basically a cousin of mine had a motorcycle, a Harley Sportster, and she was looking to sell it.
was it a 900 Sportster?
No, no, no. I'm trying to think what they call them. Um,
Well,
no,
Harley calls a one of their bikes a Sportster, and it's because it's a low rider in the back. Most of the people that buy them are females because they're such a low
yeah,
rider.
yeah. So it's the same type of thing. 900 isn't the right number. I don't know if it would be called like a Sportster 880 or something. I don't know. I can't think of the number that went with it, but yeah, it was that type of thing. But I remember it wasn't a 900, but it was about that. It was like 880, or I forgot what they call it. I have to look. I'd have to Google it or something. I don't remember. You know, but it ended up my wife got interested in taking it on because her cousins were riding motorcycles and stuff like that, and so she gave it a try, and we did the motorcycle course, and then it ended up we were a couple years into having this motorcycle, and then she had a day where she was just kind of going around her subdivision, and for some reason she ended up having a little bit of an accident with it that she got into a wobble that she couldn't get herself out of right along the gravel part, and then it brought her into the ditch, and then she kind of had to protect herself from not getting squished by the motorcycle in the ditch, and so she came back pretty shook up, and took her a while. She got on it a little bit long after that, but then just never became something that she was going to stick with. So then my father-in-law bought it from us because I really kept going with it because I thought my wife was going to do it. I really wasn't into it to be like my thing. So, and with that Sportster, I didn't like taking it like 50 or more miles an hour. I mean, I'm just like, oh my gosh, you're going along and you're cruising along. And I'm like, geez, if there's anything like with a car, you hit a pothole or something like that. I'm just like, if there's some unforeseen thing, I'm not that risk taker that you are. Like, oh, if I die, so be it. I do a little bit to preserve my life. I'm more served as an EMT and stuff like that, pre-hospital care. I'm more into, preventing death and, saving lives than to take the risk and say, oh, if it
I'm
doesn't
not.
work out, oh well.
I'm not suicidal. Okay.
Yeah, I know. It's risk taking. We all have our own tolerances to risk, and you just have your own your own capacity to deal with risk, which I talking to you about the racing, it's like I get it. You go through it all and you prepare, and like I do water skiing, and it's like, yeah, if you don't take all the safety precautions or whatever,
Yeah, we
something
had
can
that
happen.
discussion the other day and talking about, we're racing around the world. It's the longest race of any kind in the history of the world that we're putting together. And so there's real risk there. And if things could really, 100% guarantee something's going to go wrong. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Something's going to go wrong. 100% guaranteed. The question is, what are you going to do when it goes wrong? Now, me, I crack jokes. I'm horrible about it. I have a steel plate in this wrist. I don't know if you can see it or not, but right, got to get turned here. There we go. But there's a scar that comes right down here, and I was putting together a roof on hanging on a ladder 16 feet in the sky. The big old storm was coming through, and my son's holding the ladder, and I'm up there working on it, where we build our boats in a building we built boats at. And my wife called, and it rang in my pocket. I didn't bother answering it because I'm on top of the ladder trying to fix this thing. I'm not gonna answer. So my wife knows my son's helping me. So what does she do? She calls him. He lets go of the ladder and answers the phone. Suddenly, I'm coming off the ladder. Woo! And I remember in my head, PLF as I'm falling. PLF, PLF. Parachute landing fall. And it's where you hit your feet, and instead of landing on your feet, you deliberately roll. Okay? Because you want to take that impact and spread it across your whole body. But step one in a PLF is you tuck your hands like this. The reason you tuck your hands like this is because you want to stick your hand out and stop the fall. That's what you want to do. It's your instinct. Well, I remembered the PLF part. I remembered to roll as I hit the ground, but I forgot this part. Okay. And consequently, I didn't tuck my hands, and I stuck my hand out and I broke the wrist right here. And so it's hanging, it's coming down, and it's hanging off like at a 90 degrees. And it came down and just bent like this over and down. And so my son calls the ambulance comes out, and I get in the ambulance, and they're like, well, we want to hold it and we want to fix it. I said, no, don't do anything. Just give me a ride to the hospital. And I'm cracking jokes with these people. They're like, what's wrong with this guy? Okay, just give me a ride to the hospital. So I'm going there, my arm's down, and it's bent over like that and down. I go into the hospital, and I'm not crying or anything else. And I'm cracking stupid jokes about stupid stuff. I had no idea. And the doctor goes, this guy should be screaming in pain. And he's not. Okay, he must be on drugs. So they came out and do a blood sample. Before they would touch me, they did a blood sample from my other arm. Okay. And came back later and said, no, he's not doing any drugs. And it was like, well, what do you do? I crack jokes when I'm in trouble. Your engine breaks. You're 500 miles from shore. Ain't no one going to come get you. All right. You start, you figure out how to fix it yourself, but you start cracking jokes, because otherwise you can panic. And I know that when things go wrong and we're somewhere like together, my wife and I are together, the kids or something, and something goes wrong and I start cracking jokes, she gets mad. She gets really mad. Find something stupid to laugh at. So I have a steel plate in my leg about that long, 13 inches long, and 13 screws in it. I have a steel plate in one wrist. I have a steel plate in the other wrist. I've had bones stick out of this arm. They stuck them back together. And I've gone through life. I've broke my ankle several times. I've broke my arms a couple times. I would rather skid into my grave with a body thoroughly used up than arrive in my grave having never done anything. I would rather be the ship that sails and sinks, or the ships that crashes, than the ship that never leaves the harbor. I just gonna go through that. I don't want to go through that way. I'm enamored lately with the life of Christopher Columbus, and he's someone I've just been reading up on lately. He was a sailor, and a lot of sailors thought the Earth was round. Okay, and several of the leading scientists of the time, so-called scientists at the time, had said that they thought the Earth was round too. There's still certain organizations that said no, it's flat. It's flat, absolutely. But Christopher Columbus was the only one trying to raise the money to prove it. And he started in 1884, going around from kingdom to kingdom to kingdom. Now, I don't know how long he worked on it before he started going to kingdom to kingdom to kingdom. Okay, but probably before he started going from kingdom to kingdom to kingdom, pitching these different kingdoms on how he would go to across the ocean, and he was going to go to India, where they can get silk and they can get spices, and it's very lucrative. And that's what the whole idea was. They had no idea they were going to run into another pile of land in the middle. But he wrote out his proposal, and he would go and like he gave it to Queen Isabella 4 times. 3 out of the 4 she said no. The 4th time she said yes. I'll come back to that in just a minute. But anyways, Queen Isabella of Spain. This is an Italian guy, and he's pitched all kinds of these different governments. A lot of these kings knew him by name because he'd gone by several times wanting the money, okay, to prove that the earth was round. And, so eventually he pitched Queen Isabella, and her husband Ferdinand was off fighting somebody in Africa or something like that. So she was by herself at that time. But he gave her the written proposal, and she said no, or she took it to her wise men. And the wise men, the counselors, looked at it, and they said, nah, this isn't going to work. Forget it. And he left. He left Madrid, and he's leaving. And it's really hot out, and he's thirsty, and he wants extra water for the trip. So he stops at a monastery where there's a well, and he starts getting water because you need water to travel anyhow. And one of the monks there came out and talked to him, and he explained that I've been 7.5 years doing this, and nobody's going to rate me. The truth is the Catholic Church had given him a letter that basically said that they could go to any monastery they want, and he could get food and water. They were supposed to give it to him, okay? Because the Catholic Church wanted him to do this in the name of the Catholic Church, because if it does make money, they want to make some money out of the deal, okay? No guarantee it's going to work, but they wanted to. And so, so he's, obviously he's going to stop at the Catholic monasteries because that's where he can get food and water for wherever he's going. Anyways, so he left there. I thought that the king, I thought he was asked to stay there, but he wasn't. He was heading down the road to where he was going next. But that monk went back to Queen Isabel and talked her into listening one more time. And so she sent messengers to go catch Christopher Columbus. They found him, brought him back, and he pitched one last time. And she said yes at that point in time. Now, had her husband been home, maybe she would have said no. But her husband was off fighting some group of people, wherever they were, in a war of some sort. But anyway, she said yes, and she gave him 3 ships. And then his son, Christopher Columbus' son, he kind of took the logbooks and he wrote more about it from the logbooks and wrote an interesting story. One of the things he discovered was Isabella was convinced they would never see Christopher Columbus again. They were going to sail off, sail west, and they were going to die. They were never going to come home. And she was sending all these men to sail with him, convinced that they also were going to die. And so there was 3 vessels, that they went, and I don't know, I don't remember how many men it was, but she was convinced they were all going to die in the process. And a bunch of them did die in the process. So anyways, but you got to die. There's no way around it. Why not be part of the greatest voyage ever made? Okay. And then die. You could be part of it. Why not? But as far as that goes, that sure beats sitting at home and never doing anything or growing old watching TV, anyways, but as far as that goes, but sometimes it takes that grit. It takes that determination. It takes that I'm going to ask again. 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 I don't know how many kingdoms he pitched, but he pitched like all of them, like 3 or 4 times. And 7.5 years going around getting told no, 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 over and over and over again. And he persisted with it. And eventually one of the monks went back and talked Queen Isabella into hearing him out one more time. And that was the deal. So sometimes you just need a little bit of help in the process. But, you got that grit, you're going to keep after it. And sometimes that dish out one person that steps up and says, let me help you. That changes everything. So, the Catholic Church made a lot of money off this. I'm not a Catholic, and I'm not promoting Catholic. I'm a Christian, but I'm not promoting the Catholic Church, but I'm just making a clear observation. If it wasn't for that monk, okay, stepping up there would have never been a Christopher Columbus voyage. Now, somebody else would have done it eventually, but it may have been 100 years later. We don't know. We don't have any idea what would have happened otherwise. But Christopher Columbus made that voyage. And he had the tenacity to stay after it and after it and after it, you know, being told, no, 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 no. Our wise men that have sat down and analyzed your proposal, okay, of course, they know nothing. Those wise men know nothing. They have no idea. But the wise men have sat down and analyzed this, and they come up with the idea that your proposal is not good enough, and you're going to die, or they don't say you're going to die, but it's not going to work. We know it's not going to work. How do you know it's not going to work? How many of you have sailed across the friggin' ocean? None of them have. Okay, they have no idea. Okay, Christopher Columbus has spent years studying it. And come and find out his calculations were off. But it doesn't matter that they were off. Okay? Because he didn't need to sail all the way to India. Okay? He only needed to sail all the way to the New World. And so his calculations were off, that he said he was only going to have to sail like 2,300 miles. Well, he actually had to sail, you know, about 2,800 miles, which is not that significantly different. Okay. Now, had he gone all the way to India, which was the original plan, then it would have, you know, obviously he was way off. But the point is, all of those quote unquote wise men, counselors, the king's advisors were wrong. It could be done. So I crossed the Atlantic Ocean on a 21-foot powerboat, okay? A boat that can run in this much water. Now, before I crossed the Atlantic Ocean in that boat, I took one from North Carolina to Bermuda, which is about 700 miles. And I made the mistake of filling up my fuel tanks at a marina that almost all the professional fishermen fill up their fuel tanks at the same marina. And so they're watching me fill my tanks up. And they say, you're going to Bermuda in that? And they wouldn't say much. They kind of snickered below their breath, and they're snickering at me. And then by the time I got all the fuel ready to go, they had stopped snickering. They were out and out, blasting at you. You're a moron. You can't do it. You're going to die out at sea. And it wasn't one. It was a whole bunch of them. And here's the deal. All of them had their 20, 30 years of experience on a boat, making them a so-called expert on what a boat can do and what it cannot do. And based on their knowledge and their boat, they were right. With their boat, they couldn't do it. But they didn't do the testing I did. They had no idea of the testing I did. Okay? And they had no idea the capabilities of the boat I built. And lo and behold, every single one of those experts were wrong. And the one guy back there that had done the research, had done the testing, was right. Now, you think about that, 20, 30 years of experience and a couple years of testing. I can understand the people with all their experience think they know it all, but they don't. Take a look at IBM and take a look at a Hewlett Packard. They're the guys that were the big shots in the computers 60, 70 years ago. Okay? And both of them had the philosophy, if there's going to be a new invention in the world of computers, it's going to be us. We're going to do it because we are the world's experts on computers. So there's a guy named Steve Jobs. He met this guy named Steve Wozniak. Steve Wozniak had a job working for Hewlett Packard. Okay? At the same time, Steve Wozniak was the guy that invented the Apple computer. And so Steve Jobs was the guy that Steve Jobs didn't invent it. Okay? He's the guy that said, "Ding, money, I can see money." But Steve Wozniak had a contract with Hewlett Packard that said anything he invented, they had first right at it. So they took the first Apple computer in to Hewlett Packard. And Hewlett Packard looked at it and they said, "Yeah, this is junk. Okay, there's no real value here, because if there was real value, we would have invented it. We're the experts. We would have done this just right. Because we know all there is to know, and you, Steve Wozniak, you have no idea." They didn't say those words, but that's what's going on. Okay, and obviously we all know the story that they created Apple and they created this great big company. You go across the country just a little bit, okay, and there's another guy named Bill Gates. Now, Bill Gates is like Steve Jobs. he did not invent the technology either. He just saw the value of it. Okay. Now he's in New Mexico, and he's Albuquerque, New Mexico. Not Albuquerque. I'll think of the name of where he's at. But he's in New Mexico, and he's trying to pull some money together. He's in debt, and he's $57,000 in debt's what I was told by somebody who said it was, an insider. He can't pay his bills. He's struggling. Bill Gates. This is Bill Gates. He's struggling, and he makes a proposal to IBM. IBM basically said, "Nah, no way." However, Steve's mom and dad are influential people. Okay, they're involved in United Way, and they know the leadership at IBM, and because of the influence of them, IBM took another look at it. All right, because again, it's like that monk that monk that stepped in for Christopher Columbus. Okay, but anyways, because of the influence of his parents, IBM took another look at it, and they decided to give him a shot. And then his parents said, "You need some money? You need some money, son?" Because he told the whole world he had to move from New Mexico because no engineers wanted to live in New Mexico, which is baloney. Okay, we got to go to Washington State where engineers want to live. Okay, no, the reality is mom and dad live in Washington State. Mom and dad said, "You want help? Come home." Okay, which makes sense, but that's not a very good business proposal. Mom and dad said, "If you want help, come home." That's why we're going. Okay, we're all moving because mom and dad said they want. Well, they had influence and they had access to money and they helped him, but he had to move home first, which makes sense. So sometimes getting a little help from mom and dad's okay too, right? But the IBMs and the Hewlett Packards, they had the mentality that if it was going to be done by anybody, it's going to be done by them, and they totally missed it. They missed the idea that young people with new ideas, competition, okay, pooled knowledge, and a referee could revolutionize the world. And so that's a big deal. So for us, we're creating this competition of powerboat racing all the way around the world. And most of our legs are about 3,000 or 2,500 miles. Some of them are as long as 3,000 miles. One of them's over 5,000 miles. Okay, but most boats cannot go that far. And the ones that can go that far are going really slow. But we're creating a competition where they have to go fast. You can't win if you go fast. Okay, you're gonna 100% guarantee if you don't go fast, you're going to lose. Guaranteed. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Guaranteed you're gonna lose if you don't go fast. The problem is most boats can't do it. So now we're creating this competition where naval architects and engineers, okay, naval engineers and colleges and universities kind of pool their heads and come up with a new way to do it. So you get this competition, okay? And then you get pooled knowledge where everybody sees what everybody else does. Okay, and that's what happened with Steve Jobs and Microsoft and IBM, or excuse me, Microsoft and Apple. They saw what each other produced, okay? And they learned. It's pooled knowledge, okay? And they got the pooled knowledge, all right? And for us, we're bringing a referee into the equation. We've got set rules to which they have to operate. We have to operate on. So if you bring in these kind of concepts together, you can bring all incredible ideas to the table. And I believe we're going to produce new technology for the marine industry that doesn't exist. I don't even know what it is yet. Well, what is it? I don't know. It hasn't been created yet. Okay, but everything that's already been out there is proven and it works. Well, that's the issue. Because it's proven it works, you won't look at new ideas. Okay? And so when you got Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak and Bill Gates and all of the people they brought into the table, all the engineers that they brought into the table to make things happen, okay? New ideas come out. And new ideas without the IBMs of the world and the Hewlett Packards of the world, okay? New ideas can grow. Now, of course, the IBMs and the Hewlett Packard are going to jump on board, which they did. They both jumped on board once they realized that these young kids with massive competition, pooled knowledge, and some sort of a referee concept took off, okay? And for us, the referee was the market, okay? But for us racing around the world, we have pooled knowledge, massive competition, and a referee, basically guidelines they have to operate under, okay? Those give us the ability to bring new ideas to the table. If you ever want to look at something that's just amazing, just to me amazes, what's the number one language in the world today?
English.
English. That's what we're speaking right now.
Yeah.
Do you live in England?
No, sir.
You know, I don't live in England either. I've been there a couple of times, but I don't live there. Why are we speaking English? I'll come back to that in just a second. What's the second most popular language in the world? Most people think it's French. I mean, Spanish. It's not. It's French. Okay.
Oh, really?
Of the now I'm not, as far as numbers of people speaking it, Chinese comes out, but it's all one country. Okay. And then basically, but the number one, there's 206 countries. I believe it's not 86 of them speak English. Okay. Think about that. 86 countries speak English. Well, I mean, England's got to be this big country. No, it's a little country. It isn't even the whole island. It's about a third of the island they're on. Okay, you've got other countries on that same island. But England, then number two is French. Well, where are the French at? They're right across the English Channel from the English. Oh, okay. Well, what's the next country? Spanish. Okay, 29 countries speak French, 26 countries speak Spanish. Okay. Okay, well, where are the Spanish at? Right next to the French. Ooh, what's going on there? What's next? Arabic's next, but Arabic's a little bit different because that's more of a religion thing than it is just a pure cost. But Arabic comes in next. But following them, it's Portugal. Where's Portugal? Right next to the French, right next to the Spanish, right next to the English. You stop thinking about this. Why do these countries like that? And I'll tell you, the reality is, okay, right after the fall of the Roman Empire, these countries started beating each other up. The French, the Spanish, the British, the English, and the Portuguese. They're just nonstop beating each other up. And so they got good at beating each other up. They got good at killing people, really good at killing people. I mean, you look at the size of England and look at the size of India. Who ruled who? Okay. I mean, you know, it's just that the way it is. Who ruled who? The English did. They were really good at killing people. You know, we're going to stop here and we're going to offer you a chance to speak our language and learn our things and be part of our nation. Oh, we don't want to. No problem. Boom, you're dead. Okay. Next person. You want to have this? Oh, we agree. Real quick, like. But they were really good at that. And the reason they got so good at it is because they had nonstop competition between each other. The English, the French, the Spanish, the Portuguese, nonstop. And this competition, this massive competition on who could kill each other better. They had a referee, the Catholic Church. They came in and said, okay, you guys took so much land, now you got to give it back. All right. You can only do so much. But they had a referee. Okay. So you got this pooled knowledge and they all learned from each other. And like it or not, the Catholic Church had these universities where they all went and learned from each other. Okay. And so you got pooled knowledge, massive competition, and a referee. And those countries were able to dominate the rest of the world in just an unbelievable manner. And so, in my opinion, that's what changes stuff. If you can get massive competition, pooled knowledge, and a referee. And Cup Royale is all about massive competition, pooled knowledge, and a referee. And I expect to see the methods of transportation, oceanic transportation, to change. Now, obviously, the freighters have been the same since 1957. They have not had a significant change. Ferries have changed. Cruise ships have changed. Warships have changed. But none of them made those changes primarily for fuel efficiency. Okay? The ferries, most of them are jets. That's not a fuel efficiency concept. Okay? That's more about reliability. That's the big deal. And reliability is really important. But that's why the ferries are. Okay? But it's definitely not fuel economy. And then you've got the cruise ships. Almost all of those are diesel electric. And the reason they're diesel electric is because you've got massive energy being used all over the ship. Okay? Everywhere. And so it's just, they just build big generators to provide all that energy for the ship. Well, they can use them when they need to. They use a piece of that energy that's already being produced for the ship for propulsion, but it's not the most efficient propulsion. But and they've got these pods on on the cruise ships that can turn all the way around, and they're very effective for maneuvering, but they're not good for propulsion as far as the efficiency. Okay, and for those of you listeners that I'm getting over your head, I'm so sorry. I don't mean to get over your head, but I'm trying to get a basic concept here. And warships are a whole different animal. Okay, they do not make warships with fuel efficiency as the primary reason. Okay, that's just not the primary reason. But freighters, fuel efficiency is a big deal, and the freighting, the shipping industry burns 100 billion gallons of fuel every year. 100 billion. Comprehend 100 billion gallons of fuel. Just try to comprehend how big is that. I'm not talking about the ferries. I'm not talking about cruise ships. I'm not talking about warships. I'm talking about freighters. 100 billion gallons. 10%, 90% of all trade takes place on them. And they haven't changed their propulsion systems significantly in 66 years. What else do you use that hasn't changed much in 66 years? Almost everything has changed. So Cup Royale is bringing to the world a test, a massive competition where every country 50 countries maximum, step up and put forth their best product. And they're going to race 62,000 miles all the way around the world. And you're going to find out what's fuel efficient and what's not. And you're also going to find out what's reliable and what's not. Like, oh, I got this great idea, and it breaks down in the middle of nowhere. Well, guess what? That's not cool. Okay. So the U.S. Navy just what do they call it? Mothballed 6 ships. Now, mothball means they park them and they strip them out and they're set aside. They're no longer going to use them. These are ships that were built for 25 years of service. Most of them barely had 2 to 3 years of use. 6 of them. You're talking billions of dollars. They parked these ships because they were built for particular purposes, 3 purposes, and they didn't do any of them well. And so they parked them. Billions of dollars wasted to American taxpayers. They said that we're going to donate them to some other country that needs them. Why? Because they don't work for us. That's why. We don't want them. They don't work. Well, if they had tested them on a 62,000-mile voyage, 62,000-mile race, 62,000-mile competition, they would have known before they spent billions of taxpayer money that they don't work. Evinrude, you're in Wisconsin. That's where Evinrude used to be. The oldest manufacturer of outboard engines in the world. They moved from Wisconsin up to Bombardier, okay, bottom in Canada. Okay, they made this really super good, super efficient, super reliable, super sustainable engine a few years back. You remember it, the E-Tech. They had so many problems with E-Techs. Okay, oh, this thing is the greatest thing since sliced cheese. Well, guess what? It's not the greatest thing since sliced cheese. They break. And they had so many of them break that they just shut the company down. The oldest manufacturer of outboards in the world. If they had taken those and run them through the Cup Royale, 62,000 miles, they would have known. Guess what? They're going to break. Before we put out these huge warranties that say they're the greatest thing since sliced cheese, we know they're going to break. And again, I'm so sorry. I get wound up. I can talk about what I'm doing for hours. It's pretty obvious at this point. Okay, I'm going to let you talk now.
Well, I mean, it is all good description because, you know, I'm new to this whole realm. I mean, I spent the life water skiing, using speedboats, snowboats, you know, to do, you know, water sports and stuff like that. So this idea of, you know, learning beyond what was portrayed in that movie we were talking about, where the teenager went around the world or around the southern hemisphere anyway. You know, it's just very insightful. What's the history of, you know, Cup Royale? Like, how long has this been around? How did you get into it? You know,
Cup Royale doesn't exist. We're in the process of creating it.
you're creating it. So,
Creating it.
so what are you building from? You've been involved in other events that you've dreamed up Cup Royale. Like,
Yes.
how are you at this place?
Yeah. Well, again, I've been a boater most of my life. When I was 8 years old, my brother and I stole a boat. That's kind of hoodlum we were. But actually, we stole more than one. Oh, but
Okay.
anyways, some kids steal cars, we stole boats. Okay.
Yeah.
Not necessarily a good thing, but we did it. Okay. We would bring them back. They might be dinged up a little bit,
Yeah.
missing some fuel in the process. But
Yeah.
as far as that goes, but we were just kids. Um, but I was a couple of years ago, my wife decided that she was going to go Black Friday shopping. I hate Black Friday. I hate it with a passion. Who wants to stand in a mall and there's 5 million people pushing you around in this store and you can't even look at anything? It's just boom. I hate it. So she went shopping with my daughter. Okay. And I took the boys and went camping. So we're out fishing and camping with some friends of ours. And we're going to a place called Homosassa, and it's got a lot of rocks and stuff. And we're going out and we hit one of those rocks and we broke the motor. So Larry, the other guy, and his kids, and me and my kids, Larry and I decided we'd sit back and drink a few cans of soda pop or something, and we handed the kids the paddles, and they started paddling in. Eventually, somebody towed us in. At that time, I got pissed off. I had no idea that was going to be a turning point in my life. At that moment in time, I was in the financial services industry. I was one of those guys that would show up and help you invest your money, manage your money. The biggest client I had was about $1.5 million. Most of my clients were a couple $100,000, but I helped them manage their money, do their insurance, that kind of stuff. And so that's what I did for a living. I made good money at it, made real good money at it. But I got really, really consumed with how to make a better boat. But at the same time, my wife was in a car wreck and she got bedridden after the car wreck. She didn't get up at all, hardly. Very little. And she's relatively manageable now. But at the time, I had 3 small kids, a sick wife, and a lot of problems. I found how to hide from my problems in trying to design a better boat. Never thought I would do anything with it at all. I would just design a better boat and just kept drawing it. And we'd go out to eat occasionally, and I would sit down and turn the napkins over and diagram boats, and my kids diagram boats because daddy's diagramming boats, and then my boss came to us and said that we did a really, really good job in the North Tampa Bay area, but they wanted us to start driving back and forth to Orlando, which is the 2-hour drive. And don't worry, we'll give you a hotel room. It'll be, we'll pay for it and you can stay in a hotel room. Well, the problem is I have 3 kids. I want to kiss my kids goodnight. So every day, so I drove 2 hours to work and 2 hours home from work every day. And, and just so I could see my kids every day. Because I don't want them to, one of the things I would meet people when I'm doing your financial services and doing their insurance, occasionally you would hear, actually more often than not, you would hear some guy tell you, I don't have a good relationship with my kids because I worked all the time and I never saw them. I would be gone for months at a time. You would hear that over and over and over. And you say, I'm not going to be that guy. I'm going to go home every night. I'm going to see my kids. I may get home late at night, and I would leave before they left in the morning a lot of times, for school. But anyways, I drove home every day. And in that time, my cell phone wouldn't work. In a lot of that driving, your cell phone won't work. So I would pull out a pad of paper, and with one hand on the steering wheel, one hand holding my pad of paper, I'd diagram boats and do stuff like that every day. And I just, over a period of time, it just became an unbelievable passion of mine. And my mother-in-law invited us out to dinner one night at Red Lobster. Red Lobster, they give you cloth napkins. So I had to ask the waitress for paper napkins. And the waitress brought me paper napkins. And I sat there all night diagramming boats. I had no idea how rude I was. So a couple of days later, my wife invited her mother to come over to our house for dinner. And she said, are you kidding me? I bought you guys dinner at Red Lobster last week, and Ralph didn't say 2 words to me. All he did was diagram boats all night. No, I'm not coming over. She said that to my wife. I'm not coming over. My wife explained it to me for about 2 hours that night. Okay. I'm backed up in the kitchen going, she was mad. I mean, she was just mad. You're a financial planner. You know nothing about you're an insurance guy, financial planner. You're very good at that, what you do. You don't know nothing about boats. If your ideas with boats were any good, these other companies would already be doing it. And on for about 2 hours. Well, that night she went to bed and I walked the halls ways of my house and I got on the internet and I formed a company called Dreamboats Global or Dreamboats. Anyways, eventually I wanted to make a boat that would run in just a couple inches of water and to be safe on the high seas. Okay. And I accomplished that. That was the boat I used to set 4 world records. A boat can run in that much water and it's good on high seas. I sold to the U.S. Army, the National Park Service, the Federal Fish and Wildlife, National Association, or the National, National Park Service, NOAA, National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration. And I sold to a bunch of fishermen around the world, but I didn't have the money to mass produce them. And in that process, I ran across a way to make boats get much better fuel economy. And much better. And I tested it and tested it and tested it. And every time I tested it, it worked better than I dreamed. And so we wanted to demonstrate that to the world by going around the world and breaking the world speed record for going around the world. But when we started looking at that, we realized, whoa, there's a huge market here and nobody's going after it. Nobody. It's huge. The 5 largest things on TV are all sporting events. Okay. 2.5 of them are racing. The world loves racing. I mean, the largest things on TV worldwide, the America's Cup, Formula One, they're racing. That's all they are. And more people watch those than all the NFL games combined. Okay. All of that, they like to watch that stuff. And so when we look at all that, I realized there was an opportunity to create a new race. And with the whole concept of country competing against country, that's a massive competition. Okay, pooled knowledge where you learn from each other. And a referee, us, the organizers of the race. And we want to bring 50 teams from around the world to compete with each other, not just to race a little ways, but to race thousands of miles. And if they're not fuel efficient, they're not going to work. Now, I see you had a couple other people join, so I don't want to take all their time. They probably want to talk.
Yeah, well, let's check in with Derek here. Derek, are you ready to join in the conversation? Are you enjoying lunch? What's going on, Derek?
I just came to ask you what I should have for lunch.
Well, Ralph, you got any recommendations? You're talking about all the napkins and everything.
Fish.
Fish. There you go.
Fish.
By the way, when I leave here, I get off here, I got to drive over and to my shop and pick up some frozen fish and bring them home. Okay, fresh caught, huge fish.
All right.
I was gonna go get some fresh fish, but I live in Arizona, so that doesn't exist.
Hey, I saw a couple years ago, Arizona was advertising that they have more boats per person in Arizona than anywhere else in the world. So I was curious, what mud puddle are they in?
I see a lot of them. They're stored. They're all stored. And I don't know where they go. But yeah, we have lots of boats out here. We just don't really have a place to take them. And especially now, Lake Mead, because Lake Mead used to be pretty popular to go take a boat to. The water level is so low that the launch ramp actually doesn't touch the water anymore.
Wow.
Is that a running pull start? Good afternoon, people. How are we doing today?
We're doing good. Hey, Santa, we're in your wheelhouse. We're talking about traveling the world. You go by sleigh, Ralph goes by boat. You guys should team up. What do you think?
Well, boat might slow the sleigh down a little bit,
Well, he does speedboating,
Oh,
But yeah,
well,
your sleigh is pretty fast though, no doubt.
this is true. I was held up because I just put on today is World Gratitude Day today, if you didn't realize that. And
Thank you for bringing it up.
I just put on a wonderful post that I'm grateful for all the friends and the friendships that I've created, and especially in the last year of promoting Santa full time. And it's, you can never be too humble to say thank you to meeting great friends, creating wonderful working relationships with people, because the power of networking is all about developing the know, like, and trust of a relationship of another person so that they can share your name with their friends and their family. That's the power of networking that I am truly grateful for.
There you go. The power of network. So we go from the power of boats to the power of networking. You know, Ralph, I don't know you yet, Ralph, to be demonstrating me big networking, but with your business pursuits, well, and your finances, have you experienced the power of networking?
Yes, and down here in Florida, we have Papa John's Pizza.
Papa John's Pizza is all over the country. And it's
But-
amazing how many kids ask me, are you affiliated with Papa John's? No, not even close.
But anyways, well, that's the first thing I thought of when I read your title there, Santa Papa John. I thought, okay, pizza guy. Where's
There
the
you go.
pizza?
Not pizza, but how's Ralph doing? I don't think I've met you before.
I'm causing
I'm in
trouble.
Minnesota.
Oh, you're in Minnesota.
I'm in Minnesota when I'm
Did
not
you
at the
know-
North Pole.
Did you know you can go by river almost all the way into Minneapolis from Florida?
Yes, right. I've got the mighty Mississippi 150 feet behind my back window.
Well, I didn't know that until I started planning my publicity tour. So our publicity tour, we're going to go from Tampa area. I'm in a place called Hudson, just near Tampa. But
Okay.
anyway, we're going to take that. We're going to go over to Houston, Texas. Then from there, we go up to New Orleans, and we take it all the way up to Minneapolis.
Very cool.
Then we
There's
turn around.
actually a couple cruise ships that are doing that route, and they say it's phenomenal because you get to experience the history of the country.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah, because
Absolutely.
that the mighty Mississippi, as we all know, was the super highway of discovering this country from the south.
There you go. And so that's I read somewhere about the first bridge they built over the Mississippi, and nobody wanted to go across it
Oh, really?
because they weren't too sure how it would turn out.
Yeah,
that-
I bet.
First bridge. But
Was that now after the realization of train travel and train
I do not know.
existence in this country?
The first bridge, the guy that built it was the first guy to go across it, and he took it with a whole bunch of horses.
Okay.
Because no one else wanted to get on it because they're afraid you might get only halfway across. I mean,
Well, back then they didn't know and understand what bridges could do for them. They used what they call the barges with the ropes to go from side to side, and if you broke a rope, you were sailing down the river. Well, they tried and eventually gained trust in the barges. Well, I'm sure it was the same scenario for bridges because they didn't know what the hell a bridge was.
there you go. Well, I mean, it's amazing that river there. So we intend to go all the way to Minneapolis, and we're going to come back down, and we're going to catch what is it? The Illinois River, which comes in St. Louis, just north of St. Louis.
Yeah.
We take the Illinois River over to Peoria, and in Peoria we jump off the Illinois River and get on the Calumet River, which takes us into Lake Michigan. Okay.
Yep.
And Lake Michigan, we can go from there all the way up. We're going to go up to, I was telling you, they play Octonagon over there by Wisconsin, way up on top.
Yeah.
Go from Octonagon. Then Octonagon, we're going to come back down and catch the St. Lawrence Seaway. This is just a publicity tour.
Right.
Okay. We're trying to create this gigantic race. And when you try to create a gigantic race, you need attention, you need media, because no one's going to pay for it. You need the publicity. The publicity actually pays for it.
Right.
So I have 4 world records, and I found out the hard way, nobody cares about your world records, but you.
Yeah.
I got 3 of them hanging behind my head. Nobody
depending on what they are, I'm assuming.
Okay, they're all boating records. Okay, but nobody cares. But what happens is when you show up with your world record boat in their harbor, they will fall all over themselves trying to interview you and trying to get you on TV. Okay. Now I saw it over and over and over again. But people that could care less any other reason, but when you show up, it's now it's home. You bring it home, and they care. So we intend to do, after we set a world record, we're going to set another one, creating this race, going from the fastest boat to go all the way around the world. Then we do this publicity tour, and we're going to go right up, all the way up there, out through Chicago, all the way out through the St. Lawrence Seaway, and then down around the coast, all the way over to California, and all the way up to Vancouver, BC, and back down. But it's just kind of, we're creating an audience for what we're doing.
That's a little bit of a time involved venture as well.
Oh yeah. Well, see, what you do is you drive all night. Okay. The people that do the talking to the media don't drive at night. Somebody else drives.
Right.
All right. Somebody else. The key word is pilots. You don't drive a boat. You pilot a boat.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
But somebody else pilots it. You sleep while they pilot it. And then you're there at 10 o'clock in the morning, you're talking to the news media, and you stay till 5. So they can get you on this. And what happens a lot of times is they ask you if you'll stay till the 6 o'clock hour, which is okay. You do that on purpose. You let them ask you. Okay. You're not standing around waiting. They ask you, and you'll, first one to ask gets you. Okay. But you stay for the 6 o'clock hour, but it doesn't matter. Then you drive all night. You're at the next harbor at 10 o'clock in the morning. So you arrive, they know what time you go, and then you just keep going. So we have 47 stops on our publicity tour. And it's going to take about 2 months. But we're going to go right up there to where you're at, Minnesota. Okay.
Tremendous. Wow.
Anyways.
Yeah.
Awesome. More power to you. Aloha.
Hello, Marianne. Is it Marianne?
Yes, it is. Aloha.
So Marianne, where are you in Hawaii?
I'm in Vancouver, Canada right now.
We're going to Vancouver. We just mentioned you just a little while ago.
I know, but I am from Hawaii.
Cool.
So when are you going to be here?
Well, we should be there in about 8 months.
Oh, okay. I won't be there.
Now, our first stop on the world record is going from San Diego to Hawaii.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. So I'll quick introduce myself. I'm Marianne of Waikiki. I'm the author and Apple game developer of the Acts of Kindness series, featuring 200 folk Manus puppets. And we have a soundtrack by Lucy Lynch and the Perfect Wave. And my first book is called Underwater Acts of Kindness that we wrote in 2016 about the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. So I lived on a sailboat over there for over a decade and was a sign language interpreter. And all this garbage was floating around, and I wanted to know why. And Suzanne Sims is a playwright and singer at the Unity Church of Hawaii. Lucy was a singer. And my deaf friend Scott, I interpreted for. And Santa, I just want to share with you, I just got off with them a Zoom meeting. I'm in Canada, Scott's in San Diego, Suzanne's in Mexico, and Leon's in Seattle, Washington. We just had an hour-and-a-half meeting for our 4th book for climate change. So I want to get back to this because you're a sailor. And in Hawaii, every 2 years, they have the Trans-Pacific Sailboat Race from California to Hawaii, the Hawaii Yacht Club, Waikiki Yacht Club. And in 1997, Captain Moore recognized the Great Pacific Garbage Patch between Hawaii and California. So we have these books out now, and the story goes that this is Noah, who comes down on a Hawaiian vacation. They have a glow-in-the-dark party, and Noah gets hit by a black speedboat named Bad Karma and needs to get rehabilitated after he finds out he has a hearing loss. And he's rehabilitated by a hermit crab named Dr. Fingers, the finger spelling hermit crab, at the shipping clinic. And then along comes an angelfish interpreter named Angelina Joyful Lay, and he learns the finger spelling ABC alphabet. And a physical therapist called the General of the New Earth Army recruits Noah, the hard of hearing whale, to tackle the Great Pacific Garbage Patch because they want to know why their homes are not as clean and having clean water, and these mammals are ingesting plastics or getting caught in nets. So that's their vision and mission to do that. So I wanted to share that book with you. So when you're sailing, you guys can read it. You can get the books off of Amazon, and you can also listen to it on Amazon, where I was able to go into studio during the pandemic and record with Lucy's angelic voice. Then after that, I sailed from Southwest Florida to Virginia, 91 days, 91 days, 1,700 nautical miles on a 36-foot Beneteau. And what a journey that was to go up the ICW, see all the naval ships. My man friend was in the Navy, diver, cleaned up the explosives around the island. So we thank the military for their service, such as the Air Force, Marines, Navy, Coast Guard, Army, which there's a lot of military on the island of Oahu. And I just want to share with you too, my background is in audiology and hearing loss. So we have 500 million people worldwide now with a hearing loss. We have millions of moms and dads coming home from being of service who can't hear their own children or grandchildren. So these are amazing stories where we can share them around the world. And the global topics are such as ocean cleanup. Our second book is Rabbit Acts of Kindness, No Bully. And October is Anti-Bullying Month. We have a short book called Righteous Acts of Kindness featuring Pono the Hawaiian Polo Pony with a deaf writer.
I'm showing your books to him, Marianne.
All right. And thank you, Santa, my best. And our fourth book is Cool Acts of Kindness for Climate Change. And we are currently finishing that up. We just had a great Zoom meeting again. Thank you, Emily, for the podcast, Google Meetup, with our writer, Suzanne Sims, who's now relocated to Mexico. Scott relocated to San Diego. He's becoming a veterinary assistant. And Leon is doing his amazing worldwide work that would be joining us. So we have the series. And Santa, thank you so much for being our support system here, our social media influencer. I told my deaf friend Scott, I got the best social media influencer in the world. I go, guess who it is? And he goes, I don't know. I go, Santa from Minnesota. And I told him how we sent you the books. And we also sent Cooper and Beth. Beth is a journalist who has a 4-year-old deaf son with cochlear implants that we just sent the books to and the puppets to because it's back to school season, Santa. And guess what? All classroom teachers can get copies of the books from donorschoose.org. That's donorschoose.org. They can get books, coloring books, and the Folk Manus puppet set. And also, Santa, guess what happened to me for being being good throughout this first part of the year? The Awesome Grant Foundation gifted me $1,000 because I applied in July to donate these books and a water unit to the Waikiki School for the Deaf, which we will be implementing on October 14th, as Leanne McLaughlin will be there to deliver the books and the water unit to the Waikiki School for the Deaf. And he'll follow up in December when he returns to give him this book, Underwater Acts of Kindness for Whale Watching Season, with another of the puppets. And you can meet Dr. Fingers, the finger spelling hermit crab, on our YouTube channel. You can meet Chelsea, the courageous sign language chicken, Eve, the finger spelling bumblebee. And then you can still go out and play because I have online course Apple app games to go with the chapters. So you can test your skills of learning the alphabet and the numbers, such as counting the life jackets in the water. And oh my gosh, Santa, look who you got there. You just received Pono, the Hawaiian Polo Pony.
I did.
Tell us about that.
And Kurt,
What is it like? What is he like, Santa? He's a finger puppet.
he's a finger puppet, and Mrs. Claus says, wow, they are awesome. They were well put together. The details are very cool. I was showing these to the kids last night on TikTok, and they are loving them. So now we're going to have to figure out where I can send the kids to so that they can buy these, or tell mom and dad where they can buy these. And Kurt's got a couple up too. He's got the shark and the turtle. So we're supporting you, Marianne.
So Marianne,
Awesome.
Marianne, let me give you one new area of research that you can write a book on. Okay. Most people don't look at the weather patterns very much and pay much attention. I hold 4 world records in boating. I pay attention to weather patterns. Okay. So what's happened is normally coming off of North Africa, we have this real hot air that pushes off North Africa into the Atlantic, and it creates these low pressure centers, and the low pressure center turn into tropical storms and hurricanes. Now, a lot of people say that's a terrible, terrible thing to have these hurricanes. Here's the problem. Those hurricanes, the big ones, pick up billions of gallons of water and throw them way high in the atmosphere. And that water circulates the earth, and it goes to places like Arizona that are too dry right now and causes rain to come. Okay, where areas where there is basically, or you can go a lot of others, but there's trillions of gallons, not trillions, billions of gallons of water get thrown in the upper atmosphere. It minimizes some of the storms and the fires in California, etc. They come about, and it also cools the Mediterranean, these massive storms. Well, what's happening right now is these very wealthy Arab countries want to change their weather, which I don't blame them one bit. They want rain. They want to turn that desert into green. And I don't blame them one bit. So, but what they're doing is they're taking aluminum dust, really light aluminum dust, and they're spreading it across the sky. And what that does is that collects moisture, and it creates what they call condensation nuclei, which develops into storms. And it rains, it causes rain, okay, in North Africa, which I don't blame them for wanting it. If I lived in North Africa, I would want the rain. But they're trying to convert basically Egypt and those areas that used to be green into green again, okay? What the problem is, they don't create the storms. So we've had a lot of rain this summer in Florida, a lot, but we've not had a major storm. And a lot of people say, yeah, no major storms. Okay, but without those major storms, nobody dumps these millions or billions of gallons of water into the outer atmosphere, and that doesn't spread all over the earth like it needs to, and the rest of the earth is getting hot. And nobody's talking one bit about this. You can't, if you're going to change the weather patterns, this is a very serious effect. It affects everybody else. Arizona wants rain for their mud puddles. Okay, California wants rain to stop the fires. Okay, all of those things want the rain. We get tons of it because we're getting weather. We're getting small weather pattern rain, and small weather pattern rain brings us massive rain. But because that we're not getting the major weather pattern, because when the major weather pattern comes through, it takes all that small weather pattern with it, and we get dryness for a while. But we haven't had any dryness in Florida this summer at all. We've got massive rain because it's small weather pattern rain. Anyways, but that's going to affect the climate of the earth, in my opinion, far more than carbon dioxide does. Dramatically more than carbon dioxide does, in my opinion.
Well, that's great information. I want to introduce Leon McLaughlin with Clean Water Foundation in Seattle. We just had an hour-and-a-half meeting. Thank you again, Emily, for setting up our personal podcast on Google. And Leon, want to share with our new guest here about what you're doing with the Hopi Navajo and the rain dance that we talked about in Arizona.
Yeah, that's amazing what he said, because when I was talking to the tribe, they told me about the cloud gods and the water that was underneath the ground, because when you're in the desert, it's hard to get water. So it took 1,000 years to get the water that they got underground. And then when these mining companies start taking their water underground, it disrupted the earth, like the gentleman said, because it's like a magnet. The cloud and the underground water have to go together. And so when they told me that the mining companies were, if you took a 55-gallon drum, filled it up with water, stacked it on top of each other, and went to the moon and back, that's how much water they lost from the mining companies taking their water underground. And imagine they're desert farmers, and it took them 1,000 years to get this water. So now you done disrupted the whole earth. And it's like the gentleman said, I know they want water, but unless it's in tune with nature and you're doing anything to alter that, you've just destroyed the earth. So he's 100% right on what he was saying from when I was talking to the chiefs. and the people in Arizona. We're sending water filters in the next 2 weeks to the Hopi and Navajo reservation, and over 4,000 people will have water. The rain dance you were talking about, and we got it on film. They actually did a rain dance at our last fundraiser, and it was like 80 degrees. The skies were blue, and in 30 minutes, it started raining from the rain dance that they did, and we actually got it on film. So that was an amazing thing to see.
Wow.
Yep, unbelievable. And not only that, on October the 5th, we're having a big fundraiser with the Kirkland Eagles Club for the Hopi and Navajo to bring more water units and water filters to them. So, you know, they are the protectors of the earth because all they do is pray. And we're saying, how do you protect the protectors? And we're getting them clean water. Because imagine they're drinking water from when those mining companies came in, like Peabody Mining Company for uranium. It polluted their water. So now all their water got this uranium in it, arsenic in it, and a lot of other contaminants and viruses. So we're eventually going to put a water treatment plant, but right now we're putting water units in the homes and the schools so they can have clean, fresh drinking water from when those mining companies took that water that was underground to do uranium mining.
Yes. Yes, and I'm excited because I'm in Vancouver, Canada for a couple of weeks, and I am coming down to see Leon at this amazing event. And I'm looking forward to it at the Eagles Club. And would love to see the sites of Seattle, such as the Bill Gates Foundation, and where you had your shoe shine shop. And I know Jay Stoyan of the Disability Channel would want us to sit down and do some promos together with the books, which we did this last week when I got up here to Vancouver. And hopefully Emily and Kurt will be able to broadcast the show, part of the show live through my camera and Zoom. So we got good stuff happening.
Absolutely, absolutely. So Ralph, I want to come back to you a little bit.
Hi.
You know, boy, we're really covering everything. We got earth, wind, and fire, and we got, you know, the oceans and the sky and the groundwater, and we're really covering everything inside and out. But you mentioned your tour. You know, what can we do to keep up with the tour? I'm getting a sense that you're just kind of doing this and it's just kind of in person, just in these localities that you're going to. With what we do here, we do this type of thing, you know, taking things happening and make it shareable. Is there anything going on to make these events in your tour, you know, shareable, or are there going to be public viewings of
Oh, absolutely.
what's going on?
Currently, there is not. There's reasons for not posting everything online. Okay.
Gotcha.
We have a lot of stuff posted, but not everything. Okay. And we definitely don't post technology until we're ready to post the technology. I found out by the School of Hard Knocks that the world is full of people that will steal your technology. I won't say full, but there's plenty of them out there. And people that you think are your best friends will steal your technology. And so, those are schools I learned by lessons I learned by the School of Hard Knocks. But anyways, we will be posting, and then our feed will be out there. Believe me, it'll be out there where everybody can get it. You know, we're not trying to do this in secret. We're trying to do it well known. And that's why you do publicity tours, to create publicity. And so right now, I have a team of, I think, 12 people involved, but most of them aren't working. Okay, I'm the only one that's working like a dog to make it happen. Okay, the other 12 people are like, well, you know, when you get a little further down the line, we want to jump on board full time. Okay, I understand that. That's the way it is. Okay, but it's because I work pretty long hours trying to make everything happen. You do too. I've seen what you do a little bit. You understand those concepts. I don't want to suck up all your time. You got well, I've been there 13 minutes here, and you got other people on the line. So, but I really liked hearing what you guys are doing.
Yeah, so Santa Papa John, do you want to kind of give an idea? Ralph's got a company and he's got this, event organization that he's emerging, and they're not Santa approved yet, but maybe you want to share with Ralph, how he could make his entities Santa approved. Why
Well,
not?
thanks, Kurt. I appreciate that. Yes, Ralph, I've come up with some unique marketing ideas to market Santa year-round worldwide. Australia seems to be a hotspot for me. And yes, one of mine, now you can see part of it here. I hope you can see the whole badge on your screen. I'm seeing it's cut off, but Are You Santa Approve is an initiative that I've created to take the idea that Santa's been around for 1,753 years, is the #1 marketed character in the world. And wouldn't it be cool to team up, to have me on your marketing team? Because I make videos to promote your business when you sign up to my platform. That's just one of the things that I do. Ralph, I do one-of-a-kind stories. Can you imagine me reading a story to your family the day before Christmas or on Christmas Day, and I mention your children or your grandchildren's names actually in that story? So I do one-of-a-kind. I do happy birthday videos. I do Santa check-in videos. So I've created some unique, wonderful ways of utilizing the popularity of Santa. And yes, it is real. It's been there for about 14 years. And
I just want to let you know, I'm not looking away from you. I'm taking notes.
absolutely, I appreciate that.
Okay.
Yeah, let's connect on LinkedIn, and I'll be glad to set up a one-on-one with you so I can discuss this more, but I'll send you an introductory letter if you want.
What is your phone number, if you don't mind me asking?
218-820-8545.
Ooh, watch out. Everybody knows Santa's number now, boy. Family.
It's all over, Kurt, that doesn't bother me anymore because I'm on 12 social media platforms every day, and my website is as public as it can be. And my,
What is
Kurt,
your
you missed
website?
SantaPapaJohn.com. You missed another good night on TikTok last night. 150,000 likes and almost 1,100 new followers last night. So it was a really good night on TikTok again. That's over 5,000 new followers in 4 days.
So how do you create that in TikTok?
TikTok, I found that unless you figure out the algorithms to find that magical post that's going to go viral, I haven't figured that one out yet. But by spending time on there and actually doing TikTok lives, you can gain a lot of followers. I'm up to about 53,000 followers on TikTok right now. And the last 4 nights, I'm gaining 1,000 a night. And I'm only spending about 2 hours on there a night.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I have a TikTok account, but I hardly touch it.
Right. And that's a lot of people are doing that. But for me, there are quite a few Santas on there, and there's a couple of them that have 3 and 4 million followers, but they're doing it 6 hours a day, every day, and so they're gaining quite a few different followers. I haven't found that magic touch to put a post on and get 10 million followers from one post yet. So I really got to, start learning that rhythm, because I've been told if you can find that magic pen, boy, the paychecks will start following.
I had a friend of mine that he had, I think, 175,000 LinkedIn followers.
Oh, on LinkedIn.
Talking about how great that it was, and how you're going to make a bunch of money from it. Well, I found out recently he had to go get a second job to put food on the table. From his primary business. His primary business had 175,000 followers. And he's in the media business. That's what he does for a living.
Wow.
And so I know another guy that's got massive following and struggles to pay his bills. So I'm not saying that having a large numbers is gonna hurt you. I'm not saying that at all. I'm
No.
just saying that it does.
I know for a fact that some of these Santas that are on there that you know, have 2, 3, 4 million followers. That is their job. That's their career because they're
Right.
doing about 6 hours a day. Let me tell you, they're making plus 20,000 a month. That's not a bad
No,
investment.
no, and they're probably
spending, you
selling
know.
something to do it,
No, they're talking to children and spending 6 hours a day.
but they're selling something.
Nope, nothing.
Well, how do they get paid?
People give them presents, and 2 cents here and 3 cents there and 4 cents there add up.
Okay, explain that a little bit more to me. What the present? They say, give me a present for 2 cents.
No, people give you gifts, and they can be diamonds, they can be hearts, they can be various different things. They may be worth 1/10 of a penny or a 50th of a penny. But if you think about it, I had 1,000 new followers last night. If 1,000 new followers gave me $1, not everybody can afford $1, but if everybody gave me $1 on that, that would be $1,100 a day that I would be making. That would be $30,000.
Okay, but all right, but you say that I didn't know this. There's things on TikTok that you can say, I give you a heart and when I give you a heart, it transfers some money into your account.
Yeah.
Didn't know that existed.
Yeah.
Wow.
When you give diamonds, they're worth, you know, 1/10 of a penny or a 15th of a penny or a 20th of a penny. A universe is the biggest one. When you give a universe, you're giving, you know, a couple bucks, you know, but I mean, if you suddenly have, like,
I'm going to do a little TikTok studying pretty quick.
you're going to do a little TikTok study, Ralph. I mean, the simple reality of it is, if you have, you know, there's nights where I have 1,000 people online at one time talking to me, trying to talk to me. Well, if 1,000 people contributed, like I said, $1, now I've only got 50,000 followers. Multiply that by, I don't know, 60 to get 3 million. How does that transform into, you know, 20, 30, 40, $50,000 a month? I don't know how it works yet, but you know, there was a couple weeks last year where I made, you know, $400 or $500. You know, that's not a bad return for spending time talking with children. And
Okay.
as your numbers grow, more people contribute to the pot.
I didn't
Now,
know there was a tool for giving money on TikTok.
well, if you have a post on TikTok and it hits 10 million views, they're going to pay you. I don't know what the formula is, but it's like $3,000.
Okay.
So if you find those magic posts that generate the viewership of 10, 15, 20,000, like my understanding is King James, you know who King James is, our basketball star, LeBron James. He's got like 200 million followers on TikTok. When he makes a post, he gets paid $10,000.
Okay. Didn't know that.
Yeah.
So you deposit, let's suppose I open I have a TikTok account, I just don't use it.
Right.
But I don't remember them offering me an opportunity to attach that to my bank account. But there's a way to attach it to your bank account.
Yes.
And then if I want to like something, they're going to take like a penny away for me.
Well, no, you have to go in there and buy these diamonds or buy these little gifts that you want to give. And you can, you know, you can buy 10,000 of them. I'm going to give you an example, 10,000 of them for $5. Well, you can spread those 10,000 out to multiple different people.
I was unaware of this.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, I have to be somewhere in 3 minutes. I'm going to say goodbye to you. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the key is you can't win the prize unless you advertise. No, just kidding.
I didn't know this. I'm 65 years old. I'm just kind of ignorant about stuff. Okay.
Well,
I just learned something today that is a big deal. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now I've got to learn how to make that turn into something. Okay.
absolutely. Let's have a chat, Ralph. I'd love to have a conversation with you.
I thank you. Thank you, Kurt. Thank you, Leon. Thank you, Emily. And if there's anybody else out there in the wild blue yonder listening to us, thank you. And live royal.
Hey,
There you
it's
go.
Ralph,
Live
it's
royal.
World Gratitude Day today. And I just put a post on that says, thank you for all the wonderful people I've met in the past year that have supported my business and created smiles and happiness around the world. And you're part of that, Ralph, now. So thank you.
But I want to change your language a little bit in the next couple of seconds.
Sure.
If you would encourage people to live royal. Now, to live royal is to live with honor, courage, and integrity towards yourself and everybody else.
I've
Okay?
never heard that one before.
Live royal. Live with honor, courage, and integrity towards yourself first. Because you can't help people if you can't help yourself. Okay?
Right.
But live with honor, courage, and integrity. Okay? So live royal, be prosperous. Goodbye.
All right. Thanks, Ralph. Let's keep
Thanks,
in touch.
Ralph.
Thanks for your
Okay.
time.
Bye.
Yep. And like to thank Emily also for connecting us up, like Mariana said earlier. So thank you guys for that.
Did you get that email, Leon?
Yes, I did.
Thank you, sir. I hope your week has been very productive.
It's been great. And we're having that big event, like I said, October the 5th. And Mariana will be coming down. So it couldn't get better. They donated the Eagles Club to us. We're tying it into Oktoberfest. We got a beautiful band that donated their services. We're super happy. And it's open to the public, which normally in the Eagles, you have to be a member. But
Right.
they opened it to the public because of what we're doing for the Hopi and Navajo and children around the world.
That's absolutely wonderful.
So there you have it. Well, guys, you're welcome to stay here on Zoom. I'm just gonna quickly do a wrap up and get us off the live stream. But if you guys got to get going on to something like Ralph did, feel free. Otherwise, I'm here to hang out, whatever you want to do. But I do again want to thank everybody like Ralph did for everybody watching and listening out there. This again has been another one of your World of Ability vodcast shows, live streaming inspired from the disability community in the guise of disability advocacy and in my journey being a disability ally and learning and curious what other people around the world are doing, considering that type of a role to be a disability ally. And we want to thank our broadcasting partners of the Disability Channel and the PAC Channel. And we've got Wingate Studios and Transform U out of Milwaukee. And we have our friend Earl Williams doing a lot of great things with Military Veterans Radio and so on and so forth. So this is a great cooperative project and a lot of helping each other out. We have our mutual aid summit going on right now. And so going on this weekend and just very excited to see what the work people are doing and how everybody's devoted to make the world a better place. And that's what this show is all about. So thanks for doing it again. I'm Kurt Roskoff, your host, and you can reach me anytime. 262-372-1754, call or text. And you can also email me, Kurt, K-U-R-T, at spiritofthegame.org. And we thank Spirit of the Game for this Zoom account that we bring this out to you. Bye, everybody on the live stream. And John and Leon, I'll be right with you. I'm just going to shut off the streaming here and disconnect from social medias. Just take me a moment.
Well, I have to go also, but thank you for everything.
You are most welcome. Thanks for joining us and doing what you can.
Yeah.
All
I
right.
gotta jump
Talk to you
too,
guys
so-
later.
All right. Have
Bye-bye.
a great day, Leon. Thanks. Thanks, Emily.